Connect board. But sound board. But okay, that's all working. Unsupported resolution. What? Oh, I see what's happening here. Okay, it's just automatically putting me at. That's okay. It's podcast. Else is working properly. Cool, cool. Oh, that down. Okay, it seems Twitch is working. Make sure there's the. Oh, okay. Yeah, mixer's working. Good, good. Okay. It's all there. Yeah. All right. Cool. Good to see. Okay. Wait a bit for perhaps some people to show up. I do some last minute tweaks. And we can get this thing started. Or game series. All right. Oh. You on Periscope. Welcome, welcome. See everybody? Go ahead and chime in. About to get started here. Couple things to finish getting set up here. Firebot going. See some of the games I have. All the software. Okay. Update. Ah, crap. What? Alright, Twitter. New Japan US retweeted and liked. Thank you, sir. Wilford watches. I'm just chiming into his little quick thoughts and podcast earlier. Definitely go check that out. Supporter. Let's see. Spotlight indie scene with the She One. And Ring of Honor updates. War Games, Survivor Series, WC. Alright, that's taken a while. Forget that. Okay. So, how many we got now? 3 on Periscope, 1 on Twitch, 2 on YouTube. I don't know why YouTube doesn't show. It must be like at the end or something, but let's see. The dashboard shows 2. Okay. It's false. False, say. Oh, there we go. Ding. Woo! Everything's working. Okay. I'm going to hit the record button. Get this thing going. Welcome all my fellow Red Leaf Wrestlecast fans. This is episode 18 titled Global War Games Series. Super fun episode today. Due to circumstances, something I've never done before in the 100 plus episodes of the Red Leaf Retrocast, I, JD, am going solo for the wrestling episode podcast. I still am sticking with my guns that the anime, Retrocast, and gaming will not be solo. That's too many ideas to bounce off of. But the Wrestlecast, this one's a little bit different because there's so much indie stuff and Ring of Honor and New Japan to take down and take notice of what's happening. None of my other hosts that I've had on the cast before have watched any of it. A lot of time. It's holiday season is approaching. It is November 26th. 2018, and everyone joining the chat. Wilfred, hey, I just mentioned you earlier at the top of the pre-show. Good shout out there. So welcome in the chat to all you guys listening live on Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, Red Leaf Retrocast, Bowling JD, and of course Periscope. Slam-packed episode today. We got an intro talking about recent WWE signings. Then we go into our regular wrestler spotlight, which I will be covering the Mountie, aka Jacques Rougeau. There's a reason for that I'll get to. We'll get into the indie scene, which we'll be covering a new wrestler I have recently discovered on the indie scene, a French wrestler, so that'll be fun. Going a little bit more French-Canadian and French going here. This episode, we'll go into the She Won, some Noah thoughts over their Global War series. Or, no, Global League series. WXW Broken Rules occurred. RPW Uprising happened. Ring of Honor Global Wars. 3 nights. New Japan Pro Wrestling's World Tag League. WWE TakeOver War Games. Survivor Series. And naturally finishing up with an episode of WCW Thunder. So, lot to break down. Because it's solo, maybe this podcast can be within a decent time frame. I imagine it would be. I'll be throwing questions at the chat here. If you guys are even interested. So let's get into this right away. News broke earlier today that my boy Walter, my man, big WXW fan, if you listen to this podcast, he has allegedly signed an NXT UK contract. And ACH allegedly has signed an NXT contract. So this just continues the growing trend that WWE is strongholding the rising indie scene, especially the major promotions that are taking over certain regions like AAW in Chicago, WXW in Germany, Progress and RPW in the UK. They're even trying to sign more Australian talent from World Series Wrestling. So various names are coming out of the crop there. So what does this mean for those promotions? Well, it's going to be another hit to their major money draws. Walter is a big money draw. ACH is not so much their money draw in Chicago, but he is a well-known there, and that's definitely going to, I think, hurt what he brings to Japan. I was kind of hoping that he would be more hands-on with his New Japan appearances rather than what we saw in the Junior Tag League with Taguchi Japan and all that. So lot of talk over the Twitter and the social media of what matches you would like to see Walter have, or Walter as I'm calling him. The name being thrown around a lot is guys like Keith Lee, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, which is really funny because if you do watch a lot of the indie scene, a lot of these matches have already happened and they're very good. Tyler Bate, most recently at Wembley Progress Chapter 76. Walter's gone one-on-one with Keith Lee at Bola last year in 2017, which was a good match. Even had a really good Fatal 4-Way at Evolve 91, where it was Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, a good technical guy, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and Walter in that one. I do recommend going out and checking out that match. And then Walter's faced a lot of these guys, especially in WXW and Progress, primarily. One name I'll throw out there is definitely Jordan Devlin. I hope NXT does build around the guy. He's primed for an NXT UK title match. I doubt he'll win, but Walter versus Jordan Devlin, I spoke of previously on a podcast episode where they had a title match in OTT, which is the Irish promotion. That's free on YouTube, and we spoke about that in the last podcast episode. I believe that was the last one, episode 17. Definitely go check that out. It's up there as a match of the year candidate. I spoke about it having a old school regional wrestling feel, like what you would get in the old NWA and Jim Crockett promotion days. I don't understand. Well, I do understand. Walter signing this NXT UK deal. It's been in the works for most of this year. So he's very adamant. He's on the record saying he doesn't want to go to the main roster. He doesn't want to move to the United States. He likes his current position in WXW as a trainer, his position there, his family. He doesn't want to leave Germany. So this NXT UK signing is looking to be, if he's a man of his word, looking to be the max he'll get into WWE. So those of you worried about how he'll be treated later on, I'm not going to speculate, Finn Balor or someone like that of who he's going to face or could face. If we're going by his word right now, what we're going to see in NXT UK is probably just going to be repeat bookings of what we've already seen in Progress Wrestling in particular. And that's kind of what my issue with NXT UK is it's just Progress Light. It's very dull. It has so much to build up towards. We'll see how the show NXT UK will take form after the newly announced Blackpool takeover that's happening in January. So that's about a month and a couple weeks away, month and a half. If Walter shows up and makes a statement, maybe that could be some buzz around it. He is a major Raw type character, the big man, very hard hitting. As for ACH, I just don't. I see him nothing more as. I mean, I love ACH. He's very athletic. He has a lot of character to his ring work. A lot of his psychology of his move sets is very unique to him. I just see another Apollo Crews type character, to be honest, in WWE sense. He's more than that. A lot of these indie guys are more than that, but when they get to WWE and they have to translate their styles, get new, they basically give them new characters a lot of the times. Tell them you can't do this, that anymore. Take Mia Yim, for example. I'm already getting a little worried about her. Blasian Batty. Very good talent. Ex-Impact champion, women's champion. She's already losing after her debut match to Bianca Belair. I get it. It's a talent they're pushing. I just maybe wouldn't have gone about it the same way. So that's it for the news there. If you guys in the chat have anything you'd like to add for ACH and Walter, go right ahead. Button while I'm going at it. ACH, disagree, but I see your concern. ACH is scary good, one of my favorites. Yes, I mean, it's a lot of concern. That's what I have, and I'm not jumping the gun, so to say, to just go with what a lot of people are already speculating of the future for both these guys. With what we've seen in the newest landscape, I think... Here we go, final thoughts. With the current landscape of WWE, all these moves they're doing, whether it's the performance center they opened up in Germany, the performance the performance centers they're opening and expanding to Brazil, Mexico, Australia, Japan, this is all just power moves to stronghold the indie scene and keep them from rising. WWE wants to be a global conglomerate, the only player in town, and financially, is it going to be a good move in the end? In theory, it'll work the same as the regional takeover back in the 80s, 70s and 80s. But from what I'm reading over NXT UK attendance records and the live showing reviews, they're struggling to fill in those arenas. The crowds are very split. it's a dull product right now. They have a lot to improve upon for that product. Do they need a kind of a Full Sail situation like NXT has in Florida? I think so. Until then, their attendance is probably going to keep decreasing. I don't see... I've read RPW and Progress attendances are still maintaining because they have their audience, they have their places. If anything, this is going to backfire and create more of a buzz for wrestling, of those wrestling indie scenes, at least in the UK. For all the other countries, that remains to be seen. So, I'm going to play a quick drop here and go into the Wrestler Spotlight. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the Wrestler Spotlight that the Red Leaf Retrocast does, we go back each episode, pick a wrestler that we'd like to talk about from the past. Wrestler has to be retired, and we pick 2 matches to talk about and discuss a little bit about the guy. And the guy I chose for this episode in 18 is Jacques Rougeau, otherwise known as the Mountie, part of the tag team, the Quebecers. And the reason why he was picked for this one is, well, in WXW, his old tag team partner, PCO, still going strong to this day, 50 years old, was in the main event of an indie title match. And I watched that event with my mother over Thanksgiving weekend, and we just got on this big reminiscent nostalgia trip of the Mountie and the Quebecers in general in the early 90s. So that explains this. Those that aren't familiar with the Mountie, he didn't really have a long storied career, but he was in the wrestling business for about 8 years of a big mainstay. Started out with the Rougeau brothers. He wrestled in Stampede Wrestling along with the Hart Foundation, a lot of those guys. He had a known backstage kind of gripe with the Dynamite Kid, whose career was vastly shortened. But he made his name for himself dressing as, or being this character, the Mountie, where he was basically an evil Canadian police officer. The Mounties, for those that don't know, are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP. And fun fact, he was actually banned from using that character in Canada because Canada didn't want... The character of the Mountie was getting so over in the early 90s that Canada was worried that it would do negative publicity for this wrestler to be who he was while wrestling in Canada. So he wasn't allowed to portray that character in Canada. He came out to his real name, but he got to dress in a short sleeve plain shirt, or cut off sleeve plain shirt, and keep the Mountie pants. That was quite funny. And the 2 matches I picked out for the Mountie was one of the matches that kind of kickstarted his career, not his debut, but a bigger one. It was at WrestleMania 7 in 1991, where he faced Tito Santana. In a similar sense to how Shawn Michaels started to get over at a singles career and character, he faced Tito Santana. So Tito Santana, aka the El Matador, at one point, he was a worker that could go with anybody. And the Mountie character was getting over. People liked him. He had a gimmick where he had an electric kind of cattle prod that matched his outfit, so he'd electrocute people. Well, this match only lasted a couple minutes, including the entrances, so it was like a minute and a half, really. And basically, Jimmy Hart, his manager, Tito pushes the ref out of the way. Jimmy Hart hands the Mountie the electric cattle prod, sticks him in the stomach real hard, pins him 1, 2, 3, and that kickstarted the career and just heel tactics. Think of the Honky Tonk Man with the guitar. This was kind of that same idea of character, and it was the early 90s, so these wild gimmick characters were aplenty, and the Mountie was no different, except because the US and Canada had so many cross promotions and relations that the character just got over, and this was a good match that kickstarted him. probably the biggest match of the Mountie's singles career before he went on to become part of the Quebecers, which is another way I knew him, with PCO, Pierre Roulette, was SummerSlam 1991 against the Big Boss Man in what was called the Jailhouse match. Really funny stuff, because it was basically the promos going back and forth of Big Boss Man being part of, you know, the police department. He represents all of America's police, and then the Mountie represents all of the Canadian police. And naturally, only in WWF at the time, or still to this day, all Canadians are evil, and this was your definition of an evil Canadian. Quite funny. Oh, we got another comment in the chat. LGDC Diax from Periscope. You think that Cody can beat Jay Lethal for the ROH title? You know what? It's good that you asked that. I'll make a note of that right now, and when we get to ROH Global Wars, I will answer that question. It's later in the cast. Jay Lethal. Okay. So back to the Mountie SummerSlam 91. So they're cutting promos back and forth on a couple main events and whatnot. Good promo package before the match at SummerSlam 91, where it was the match actually was pretty good. It's very entertaining. You can kind of picture the match in your head, how a 1991 big man match would go. The Mountie and Big Boss Man weren't the most mobile guys in the ring, but it was straight gimmicks working well. The crowd very hot for what was going on. And the match ends up going down where the Mountie tries to get his patented electric prod stick. Character work wise, theatrical wise, kind of does this big wind up to stick Boss Man in the stomach, much like how he won his match at Mania 7 earlier that year. Boss Man moves out of the way, uppercuts him a couple times, does his key moves, pins him 1, 2, 3, crowd erupts. Naturally, the commentary is going crazy that America wins USA, haha, evil Canada. And there's this big theatrical moment where the Mountie gets taken to the back, goes to a jailhouse, they throw him in the cell, and he's just all freaking out. You know who I am, I'm the Mountie! I'll get my man back, that kind of stuff, his key catchphrases. And then, only in what WWF would pull, and probably any other promotion of the time, in 91, before it cuts off, it shows the Mountie on the bars, and he looks to his right, and there's a biker dude that looks at him in just the most stereotypical homosexual accent. Kind of insulting when you look at it now, and he just goes, "I like those leather pants on ya." And then the Mountie just freaks out, "No!" So, anal sex jokes, hooray, for 1991. That kind of sums up a lot of what the Mountie was. My mom and I, growing up, and this is one of my mom's top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, just because the gimmick was so hilarious. And just the idea of an evil Canadian just always kind of reminisce. I mean, I grew up in Texas, so that was absolutely just hilarious to talk about all the time. And it was good going down this trip down memory lane and going back to something like this. So maybe we'll go back to the Quebecers at one point with PCO, but he's still wrestling, so who knows what might happen. If you guys remember the Mountie or are surprised by what you hear, go ahead and say something in the chat. Until then, I'm going to play another sound drop, and we'll move on to all the indie stuff to talk about. Whew, and there's a lot of it. Okay. So the rising indie scene, being chokehold as much as possible by the WWE and their efforts to keep all the best talent for themselves, much like Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. There's a football reference, soccer for the American fans out there. I got a lot of Twitter comments saying that you guys liked my super kind of indie wrestler moment. It wasn't really planned in the last episode. So where I talked about a kid out of Spain in White Wolf Wrestling. Well, this episode leading up to this, I came across a new wrestler called Senza Volto. He's a masked French wrestler with kind of the freaky contacts that everyone's kind of wearing. Reminds me of Rey Mysterio, his contacts, you know, the white eyes and the extremely small pupil. So there's 2 matches. Number 1 contender match for the GWF Berlin title. So it's an indie promotion in Germany, for those that don't know. It's the East Germany promotion. Kind of like WXW is more or less the West Germany promotion. And this was against El Phantasmo in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And normally I don't like 2 out of 3 falls matches going, you know, that 10 to 12 minute range. A 2 out of 3 falls match to me needs to go at least 15. That way the falls are apart from each other, or you can build up to 2 quick falls, you know, something along those lines. The story here is what saved it, where ELP, El Phantasmo, has never beaten Senza Volto before, so that was a major draw for this match. So Senza Volto has beaten him time and time again, and in GWF they built it up fairly well. And the match wasn't long, but it was extremely high paced. Think of a junior heavyweight style match with a time constraint. So without a lot of interference in the nonsense that a lot of Western companies will do, American, for example, it kind of worked somehow in this match. And what ends up happening was the match, the falls were decently paced apart from each other, and because they never stopped for 1 second with that really high pace, so there was never a rest period, no chin locks, no arm holds. Everything, like, you could see the trend of the match getting slower as they approach that final fall. And ELP finally gets one over on Volto, and this match definitely sold me on Senza Volto as a wrestler. So the next match is from Wrestling Cult, an even smaller German promotion. And it was for their International Cult Cup title. Think of mid-card type. So Senza Volto is not by any means a top player, not even a top French wrestler, but he's making a name for himself in Europe right now, specifically in Germany, which is quite surprising. So he lost here as well, but he looked a lot more smooth and more experienced than the others in the match. Some of the others were fellow Frenchman Tristan Archer, who's the current champ. No, he was not in that match. Julian Pace. He was in that match, and he's another kind of mid-card or undercard up-and-coming wrestler in the German indie scene. So Wrestling Cult's an extremely small German promotion. It feels like it just got started, and they're using a lot of kind of the undercard talent that the bigger indie promotions would use, such as WXW, Progress, even Body Slam Wrestling in Denmark uses those guys. So Senza Volto is a name to look out for. I really liked what I saw from him, and I look forward to more matches. So let's get on to a topic I'm extremely excited about, and that's the She Won, a multi-day women elimination tournament with 3 blocks with some main events mixed in. So I gotta make my notes here. Okay. So I went into this thinking the major players were like Madison Eagles, Jamie Hayter, who's an up-and-comer, Toni Storm, Charlie Morgan's the champion, and Kaylee Ray, who's kind of the big name in Scotland and World of Sport Wrestling, which just ended recently. So I kind of had it in my mind that Toni Storm was kind of going to be that woman to get all the way to the end and win it all. On Twitter, I jokingly said, no way Jamie Hayter loses this, because she's the best ever, you know, kind of joking. Well, turns out Hayter pulled an Absolute Andy and 16 Carat from earlier this year, which is a big tournament in WXW in Germany. Hayter pulled just cheating tactics to win every match all the way to the end. So kind of some double booking there. or yeah, much like Defiant kind of double books a lot of what Progress does. I'm seeing a lot of NXT UK doing that with Progress, etc. Hayter remains undefeated in singles matches in Pro Wrestling Eve, and I'm saying this, listen to me, the most improved wrestler in 2018. She has been that damn good from when she took the RPW women's title from Ginny earlier this year. It looked really sloppy, not as smooth. And now, with her newfound heel tactics, her performance in the G1 style tournament in Stardom, you can see her improvement on a more visible scale than, say, what we've been seeing out of Hangman Page and Jordan Devlin. So there were a couple sweet table spots in the triple threat match, which occurred between the 3 blocks between Jamie Hayter, Toni Storm, and surprise finalist Chris Wolf, who's winning matches lately, left and right. She's usually a joke character, but when you book a joke character to actually surprisingly win matches every now and again, it gets the character over. Something a lot of companies tend to misbook. So that was very surprising, and Hayter did win that match. So that was great to see. Not every match was a winner, but Toni Storm was very smooth. The Chris Wolf shock victories were fun, and Jamie Hayter cheating really brought more character to her. You can see the improvement. Then there was the Eve Championship match, which was Kaylee Ray versus Charlie Morgan, who's the champion. And then against Nina Samuels, who cashes in Pro Wrestling Eve's version of the Money in the Bank contract at Wrestle Anywhere, Anytime. So what happened was KLR and Morgan go 1-for-1, trying to top each other with each other's kind of Daredevil for Daredevil moves, and this ended up becoming Charlie Morgan's downfall. Good ring kind of psychology booking here. So it really made you, as a fan, think that Kaylee Ray's a big fucking deal, and she could really take that title off of anyone at any time. But then Nina Samuels comes out, cashes in the contract, chair shot, GTS, wins the title. We can't all have nice things. It was such a WXW Germany style booking that I got really into it, and I don't think you can be afraid to book things like this. It really made a good shock moment. It gets you interested in what's going to happen in the future, and it built a new star in Nina Samuels, who's also been improving rapidly. So, good tournament. Definitely go and check out Pro Wrestling Eve. The She One was lots of fun, especially that final night. So real quick is the Noah Global League. So I've watched a few nights, and only one match really stuck out to me. Katsuhiko Nakajima is doing very well in tournament. Excuse me as I hit my mic and drink some water. But Sugiura lost a few times, especially in his match against Kiyomiya, who bumped like a madman for the shock win. He must have landed on his neck 4 or 5 times. But the match we're going to talk about here is Kenoh versus Marufuji, which went 18 minutes hard. And what I mean by it went a hard 18 minutes was it was basically 2 guys hitting each other with their key strike moves, trying to one-up each other, and then at the end, Kenoh got real serious and just put one over on Marufuji. Definitely something to look out for, and you'll see what I mean when I say that. Kenoh wins, and this was regarded as a 4.75 star match. Very good. It's their first match against each other since Kenoh moved up to heavyweight. So, what I was worried about Kenoh being booked at the beginning of the tournament with, I don't know what the hell they're doing with him, this was a good match for fans to realize, no, he's still a big deal. And Marufuji in this Global League God, he's just he's reminded me of looking like Dalton Castle from earlier this year, where he's bandaged up everywhere and he's got all these types of injuries going on right now. Marufuji just needs to take a little break. His body's definitely going out before what he needs to accomplish still, and he's not even 40 yet, so I think he's still got time to go. Marufuji's definitely still a top player, not just in Japan, but in the indie scene and wrestling in general. But it was nice to see Keno, that young talent, get put over here. Marufuji, with his injuries and who he is and that name value, is definitely the guy to do it. On to WXW Broken Rules, which is a staple of the WXW pay-per-view format, kind of like Survivor Series, SummerSlam, etc. with WWE. Broken Rules, I believe this was their 18th one. Even going back all the way back to when they were a deathmatch promotion. So Sami thinks Maru will retire soon. I really hope not. I think a break and less matches will do wonders, or just go away for a little while, like Dalton Castle did. But Marufuji is one of their few draws in Noah, so it's going to be tough to see it happen. God, even when he's like 3 times slower what he used to be, he's still so good. So back to WXW Broken Rules. The story going into this was the interim title and the Absolute Andy, who hasn't lost the title yet. He just had to back out to injury. I believe it's 100% work by WXW to get kind of interest in the title picture right now. Well, Bobby Guns cashes in his quote-unquote shot again, where he puts it on line against Absolute Andy, and this match was built as a heel versus heel kind of grudge match. What we got was, it was the first match of the card, which surprised me, and there was something off about it. It didn't flow well. It seemed kind of sloppy in points. It looks like Guns just couldn't match Andy's pace at all, and vice versa. Andy just couldn't seem to get a hold of Guns' grapple kind of catch style, which is quite surprising considering that Andy is such a veteran. Not only is that his nickname, it's very true. Such a veteran of the style, because catch wrestling style is such a German thing now on the indie scene. I don't know if Guns was just so off his usual game, or there was just something about it. It went a little too long as well. It seemed like it dragged. It was still an entertaining match, but I think that I believe there was a sense that these two guys just couldn't quite click. So they booked it to be the first match, get that title match out of the way. Andy goes over. My mom was quite upset. She quite liked Bobby Guns coming out, smoking the cigarette, King of Smoke style kind of deal, but that's okay. We move on. The next story was Timothy Thatcher finally gets one over on Walter. Story going into this was Thatcher is upset at Walter being kind of a part-timer in WXW these days. He even said, like, no, you're going off winning world titles all over the place in Ireland and England. You know, you do you, whatever. And Walter kind of took offense to this. He goes, well, what's your problem? And Thatcher then responds with, well, when I go and wrestle in America or come here to wrestle in Germany, I still have Ringkampf on my tights while you have Ring General. As I translate. Not that hard, but... and so before Axel Dieter Jr., now known as Marcel Bartel, NXT, comes back for the anniversary show in December, they need to get their shit together because they got British Strong Style to take on later. So they have a match just to settle their differences, and Thatcher says in a build-up promo, maybe I'll get one over on you, or maybe I'll get my ass kicked. Who knows? But I might get you this one time. That's what happened. They slapped the hell out of each other. Walter, over the course of the match, just kept slapping a little bit harder. Thatcher did a very good job of selling it, and rolls up Walter for the win. So got a good pop. Walter was very upset, and it seems like they've settled their differences, and Thatcher got it through Walter's head that you need to care about Ringkampf. So that was really cool. Then Tony Storm won back the women's title from Melanie Gray in 10 seconds. Got a really good kick out of the match because Melanie Gray came out. She came out, cut a promo. She's like, all of you people in the audience will grovel at my feet and enjoy the privilege of looking at my ring talent and all my technical skills. And then she goes, and you'll now hear my illustrious voice as I sing you a song. And she sang a couple songs. She sang at one point Batman, da-da-da-da-da-da, Batman. She sang another Disney song of some kind. And then Toni Storm just kind of Germans her. Storm zero pile driver, pins her. Melanie Gray cries outside the ring, and Storm's like, yeah, I got it. So I think this was... And my mom was really confused. She got a really good kick out of Melanie Gray. She definitely liked her. And I was telling her that Toni Storm was injured a couple months ago in an NXT UK taping, and the initial report was Storm was heavily injured, so WXW took the title off her, had a match to get a new champion. Well, turns out the injury wasn't that bad. So on the very next pay-per-view that they were able to book, WXW did a solid. I think this was a good move for future work and relationship with Toni Storm to get her title back. It was good, and it was okay, and it was entertaining. My mom's favorite match of the night was actually this next match, and that was the Triple Threat Tag Team titles. The team of Coast to Coast and the Arrows of Hungary against JFK, the champions. Coast to Coast is a up-and-coming tag team that's currently signed to Ring of Honor. I believe they're permanently signed. Arrows of Hungary are kind of a rolling tag team on the indie scene in Europe. Kind of an undercard, and the story going into this was JFK sees no tag team as their equals. They're putting everyone down because they won Tag League. So they're in this triple threat match. JFK looked like stars. They looked like they belonged as tag team champions. And they needed this match. All three teams got to pull off their key moves. It was very high paced, lots of fun. Like I said, mom's favorite match for her, so good stuff. Main event was Dragunov against PCO, and the best way I could describe this was Dragunov survives PCO. PCO came in, he cut a really funny promo, power the glove, you're gonna take on the French-Canadian Frankenstein. He kept calling him Dragunov instead of Dragunov. It was kind of funny. They had a street fight, which fit the Broken Rules pay-per-view gimmick from years past, and some plywood table spots where they'd set plywood on some chairs. At one point, there was a pile driver through a chair, or through plywood in a chair. Just some crazy spots. PCO took a back body drop on a slanted ladder on the ring apron. It was very slow. Dragunov got cut open something awful like 5 minutes in the match, and he was bleeding like Ric Flair in the late 80s. Just the blonde hair, just caked in blood, face all good. My mom's just like, they gotta stop the match, he's worried. I was like, don't worry about it. It was crazy stuff. This was for the interim title of the promotion, so Dragunov survives. So Hamburg show just came out. That's their next show. And it's Andy versus Dragunov to find out who the true champion of WXW is. Should be fun to watch. Be covering that on the next cast. In summary of Broken Rules, not WXW's best pay-per-view of the year. I would actually say it's one of their... it's going to be the lowest on that totem pole. It was just a simple 2 hours. Not a lot of star power carrying this event. Not a lot of build. It looks like they're gonna start building towards their next major events. Like I said, they got Ring Conf and British Strong Style going against each other at the anniversary show in December, and then once that's over, it's building towards 16 Carat. You know, their big elimination tournament, their Mania. You know, their big draw pay-per-view. So it'd be fun. So. Just a real quick notice, since Lucha Underground's over, I got a couple tweets asking what we're going to cover then for Lucha, because I don't cover, even though I do like to keep up with some CMLL and AAA Libre in Mexico, they're just not, what's the word I want to use? There's not a lot of draw there to watch it as a non-Mexican wrestling fan, because I do like a lot of the wrestlers and characters there, but there's just something missing to really get into it. Cavanero did win I think it was a middleweight title over Atlantis. I believe it was Atlantis. If I'm mistaken on these names, forgive me. Atlantis has held that title for fucking, 5 years, and Cavanero, a new up-and-coming talent, young guy, taking that title off him is a big deal. I haven't seen the match, though. Just read about it, which was really, really cool to see, and that's making a new star. Cavanero has been being that star being built. So why am I talking about that? Well, MLW has a lot of this lucha talent. They've been gaining a lot of steam because of their YouTube channel, with their hour-long shows once a week, which is really cool. So I believe I'm going to use MLW as a good place to channel a lot of that lucha fandom that this podcast has. And if you want to hear me talk about more of the luchadors that are in it, well, good thing Conan is channeling his inner kind of NWO recruiting wrestlers from Mexico into a lot of these storylines. Looks like MLW is going to be replacing Lucha Underground for this podcast, which is pretty fun. So in the next episode 19, we'll be discussing some MLW shows that have happened over the last 3 to 4 weeks. But just a little cap on what MLW is. The new Hart Foundation is cool, with Bulldog Jr., Teddy Hart, and Pillman Jr. Really cool. I think Pillman Jr. is the one to look out for. He's still pretty green and young, but he has much more charisma than the other two, which is really good to see. MJF is the middleweight champion, aka their mid-card title. He's doing a good job there. Good heel. And Low Key is the main champion. Not a big Low Key fan. He's a little guy with a 7-footer voice kind of deal. The big build here for him is Conan kind of wants to take the title off him. He keeps getting other luchadors to try and take it off him. Low Key keeps beating him. You know, it's a decent enough story. I am into it because I really want to see Low Key lose that freaking title already. So, on to RPW Uprising. Not a lot to break down for RPW, to be honest. But notes here, doing a bad job of that. Okay. So RPW Uprising had really only 3 matches to truly talk about on this. It was a very straightforward show. RPW, Revolution Pro Wrestling over in the UK, it has the talent. And just like in Ring of Honor, it seems they can't put stories together. Whether it's the way a lot of Western promotions tell wacky angles and whatnot and build to something, or whether it's a Japanese style promotion where a lot of them will build towards more rink psychology and give it more of a real sports sense. Well, RPW and Ring of Honor just kind of have that here's a match feel and here's a champion. They really need to fix that. The one shining light I'm seeing to kind of bring that to the next level is David Starr. And I'll get to David Starr in a second. Satoshi Kojima upsets Walter in a singles match, and I truly went, what the fuck? I don't know what they're doing here with Walter. Now with that news that Walter signed with NXT UK, it looks like he's out of RPW. Probably won't be in future bookings, which is quite upsetting because there's a lot of dream matches I'd like to see there, namely Minoru Suzuki. Did get to see Ishii earlier this year in August, which was really nice at Summer Sizzler. Well, post-match, Josh Bodum cuts a heel promo about Bread Club, so that was kind of funny. He even stomps a loaf of bread, very, very jokingly. So the future seems they've built. The commentary made it clear that Kojima and Bodum are on win streaks, so they're going to face each other and then probably go on to lose who's ever champion at the time. I'm surprised that Kojima is so over as he is in the UK, but hey, he is a staple of New Japan veteranism, and he can still put on a good match, and Walter definitely showed he's willing to get other guys over, so that was nice to see, despite my what the fuck moment. Suzuki-gun puts down a game Aussie Open for the tag titles. Good match, but I wouldn't say it's one of Aussie Open's best. Even over the last couple months, Aussie Open just, I don't know whether it was they couldn't quite adjust to the technical pace of Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki as much as Suzuki-gun were adjusting to Aussie Open's faster in and out style. It just felt off in that sense. Maybe it was just one of those times where they were a bit fatigued or they just haven't worked together enough. But regardless, Suzuki-gun got over and they looked very strong doing it. In Aussie Opens, there's still certain things they need to get as a tag team to reach that next level, I feel. Hopefully, being the tag champs in Progress will get that over. So, the main event was Ishii taking on David Starr, and this was essentially the Cruiserweight champion against the Heavyweight champion. Starr cut such a good promo at one of their cockpit episodes saying he's the real face of the company. He's there every single event. He's the guy that RPW needs to pay attention to. He's still going on with that whole conspiracy RPW has against him, even the refs. Quite funny. And this was just a great showing from David Starr. Just heel tactics, the pace between the guys. Ishii did a great job selling. Starr trying everything he can do to win and make up that heavyweight to cruiserweight difference, which is really nice to see. You know, the little guy is usually the babyface going in. Well, it was the other way around. So how do you make that work in match psychology? And that was Starr pulling out moves, just anything he could do to get Ishii down. Well, what bothered me was the ending. I really think David Starr should have won here. Obviously, we're building towards, now that we know Zack Sabre Jr. and Ishii are going to fight at Wrestle Kingdom for the RPW title. I still think, booking-wise, Starr should be the double champion. So whoever takes the Cruiserweight title off him, probably El Phantasmo, gets into immediate star status for the promotion, even more so. Well, Ishii reverts back to his kick out after one count or a top signature move, and then just shortly thereafter, whether it's one move or two, wins via brainbuster. I just don't like these Ishii finishes. He's been avoiding a lot of that in his matches since, I want to say, July. And then this match, it was like, this is why I didn't like Ishii in the first place. I liked his matches up until the ends. And what matters is the ending for a lot of matches. I mean, it was still a good match. Just think David Starr should have won. So, well. Where does RPW go from here? Well, they need... I spoke about this when guys from the Loudmouth Wrestling Podcast were on here, that they need to build their own stars. Is Josh Bodom that guy? Could be. He's definitely a character. He has a look. They need to do more than just have a lot of these New Japan guys there. So David Starr, Josh Bodom, looks like they're trying to build up a couple other British guys, but man, we're a year or two away from those guys seeming to reach another level. Alrighty. 48 minutes. Get to play a drop to go into Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay. So, Ring of Honor. You know what? I'll start out with New Japan. New Japan Tag League. I'm not into it. I'm not into it. The lack of build for the tag teams, just the matchups don't seem to be flowing well. Almost every match seems to be predictable on who's going to win. Not saying guys like Killer Elite Squad aren't putting on good things. Snot and Evil are looking good. They're good wrestlers. Everyone's a good wrestler. Is it interesting for the fan? Everything feels like a house show, and I just can't get into it. Suzuki-gun the World Tag League is looking great for Suzuki-gun, even when they have their own tag teams against each other, and they're doing heel tactics against each other, and it's still just, you know, the group's larger than the individual kind of mentality. I like all that. Taichi is pulling out fantastic heel tactics throughout each match. He's that kind of cocky individual. He's being a standout character in Tag League. Now, is he a good wrestler? Well, singles matches. Anyways. But guys like Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., Desperado, and what he's done in his limited roles, even in his little single matches over in RPW, we're good. We're good. LIJ is seeming a little bit lacking in this, and then you have a lot of veterans in there that, you know, they're your name values. It's fine. I still like Kojima doing what he's doing. But not much else to say about New Japan's World Tag League. If you guys in the chat have anything to add to it, or what you guys think of it, let me know. Keep it coming. So, Ring of Honor Global Wars tour. So it's a few night tour. They were in Maine, Massachusetts. They went to Buffalo, and but the big show always seems to be their Toronto show, which I got to go to last year, which was okay. The big match last year was Young Bucks against the Super Smash Bros, which is a big tag team in Canada, banned from wrestling in the United States. That's why we haven't seen them. I guarantee they'd be definitely signed with Ring of Honor if that was the case. But there was two shows that stood out to me. It was the one I went to in Lowell, Massachusetts. I really liked the main event. It felt a little bit slow, but it was entertaining live. I was very sad that I didn't get to see Marty Scurll on this entire tour. There was a lot of Scurll shirts there. I was wearing mine. The Paige Naito match was okay. I really liked what I saw at a Paige there. Whenever you see Naito wrestle in a shirt, you always feel like he's gonna put on kind of a half show. That's kind of the vibe I got. The Briscoes looked fantastic every day of this tour. Looked really good. Daniels looked really good. He was a standout guy. And then, let's see, Matt Taven. What he's doing with the Kingdom, the 6-man tag titles, the tag titles, his purple Ring of Honor, I'm the real champ title, the whole character, it really showed on this tour. He got a really good win over Bushi. He looked like $1 million. It wasn't your typical squash match, but Bushi did such a good job getting Matt Taven to look like a top player in not New Japan, Ring of Honor. And that's what they need to do. So as for the Toronto show, I don't have much to say about Lethal versus Kenny King. Didn't really care for it. I don't really care for Kenny King in the ring. Lethal retains. No surprise there. The SoCal Uncensored Super Smash Bros. Match was for the tag team title match. For the tag titles, which SoCal Uncensored have. That was probably my takeaway match, just because I don't get to see Super Smash Bros. A whole hell of a lot. They got kind of a weird War Machine, War Raider type vibe to them, but a lot more mobile. It was great. It's great seeing the Time Splitters, Chris Sabin and Kushida as a tag team, and they took on the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks look, I spoke about this in the last podcast episode, that the Young Bucks look a little bit tired. They look a little out of pace lately. Whether it's they're winding down with a lot of the holidays, spending time with their family. Match was still good, just not quite at that usual Young Buck level. Sabin and Kushida, they were definitely at a higher level in that match. My favorite match was definitely the Briscoes against LIJ. I don't think I really need to go into the match particulars itself. Just that was my takeaway match from the entire tour of the Global Wars. Naturally, Matt Taven Daniels, good match as well. So, I'm looking forward to Final Battle, and that goes back to the question asked earlier in the chat. Do I think Cody will defeat Lethal at Final Battle? No, I do not. I think Lethal is keeping that title that much longer. If it was Marty Scurll at Final Battle, because he won that contract at Survival of the Fittest, I would be more inclined to believe a guy like Scurll would take the title off him, considering Scurll still has another year on his contract. And besides, Cody just tore his meniscus, and he's wrestling hurt. So he still has what I presume is going to be the US title match at Wrestle Kingdom in January. And then this match at Final Battle coming up. Don't think it's going to be the time for Cody to get the title back. Lethal just signed a new, 4 or 5 year deal with Ring of Honor, so they have no reason to take the title off him. Will it be a good match? Gee, I hope Cody can move as well as he can heading into December and January. And then he's gonna get surgery. So there you go. If you guys watch Global Wars from Ring of Honor, let me know what your favorite match was. Very curious. That's it for... It was nice and quick. Just a nice 6-7 minutes talking about Ring of Honor. It's definitely time to get into all that WWE. Oh boy. Luckily, there's some good news this time. As I play my favorite WWE drop that I made. Okay. So, the first thing I'm going to discuss is War Games from NXT. Guess I can just go down the 4 matches. Matt Riddle beat Cassius Ohno in like 6 seconds, so hooray for that. Kind of swerved us to see that it wasn't going to be a match on the card, but it was. What this did do is it took up about 12 minutes where it should have gone to the 2 out of 3 falls women's title match, which was Shayna Baszler beating Kairi Sane inside 11 minutes. Just constant interference. Was it high-paced? Was it entertaining? Yeah, I guess. Not really what the match should have been, especially considering this back-and-forth trading wins story that's being built, and even more so since at Evolution, Shayna Baszler had the introduction of her little cronies, MMA cronies, to have Sane lose the title. So to see it a second time, and the fact that within 90 seconds, the MMA chicks, Shafir and Duke, just immediately interfere in 2 minutes to the first fall. Just, if you're going to do that, why didn't they just come out to begin with? Is kind of my gripe on that, first and foremost. So there was a big babyface comeback from Kairi Sane, just kind of her putting on the pace, her putting on the match. Baszler's getting really good at working with better people in the ring, and Kairi Sane is definitely a great example of this. So I'm giving Baszler her credit where credit's due, and she does have her character work down to a T to match her ring psychology movesets. It's really working. When we see Baszler go one-on-one against someone who's not as good as Kairi Sane at rolling with a match, that's when she'll be exposed. And I'll get to a great example of that later. So, 10 minutes it took for Kairi Sane's friends to come out, Shirai and Dakota Kai. They did nothing in the end. They pulled off a kick, a sick-ass moonsault in tight jeans from Io Shirai. You know, it all looked good, but nothing came of it. Because then immediately Baszler just gets one over and she retains. This felt like it was straight out of WCW Nitro. I don't like how this went down. It just felt like overbooking and rebooking at the same time for what we already knew. And that was Shafir and Duke are going to get involved. And reports were coming out at NXT house shows that Shafir and Duke are not ready in the ring. They are not ready. They are super green. They've been wrestling as long as Rousey, it seems, and I mean, I think it was Duke that I was reading. She has the ring skills, and then Shafir has the character. They're both developing different things at different paces, naturally, from one person to another. But if this is leading presumably to a 6-woman tag matches down the line at, I don't know, the next takeover or an NXT kind of blow off episode, I'm confident that Kai, Shirai, and Sane can make them look great. But if they're having a match within the next year on a major platform, I'm really worried about what this MMA stable is gonna really be. Because the only person out of those 4 that have the real ring work is Baszler, just from what we've seen so far. On to Black versus Gargano. Super fast-paced match. It lasted 18 minutes. Lots and lots and lots of kicks and knees. Black wins with 2 Black mass shots. The last 3 minutes of storytelling and the transitions was utterly brilliant. One of the best examples of how to end a match that I've seen all year. It was that damn good. It really stuck out. And the fact that the 18 minutes of the way they use their rest periods to tell the in-ring story to go along with their out-of-ring story, that was something I want to see more of, especially in WWE booking. That's something I see a lot in New Japan booking, or even some All Japan matches with Miyahara. That was done so well. I want to see more of that. Gargano just is on that level. Black, I mean, I've seen him work for a long time as Tommy End on the indie scene. These two just worked so well together. I would love to see a future NXT title match between these two as kind of the second match between the NXT title match, Tommaso Ciampa against Velveteen Dream. Dream pulls a total troll. I'm almost positive he's trolling, as he wrestles the whole match kind of as old WCW heel legends. And he came out to NWO Hollywood Hogan gear. He was doing all of his key little taunts. At one point, he did a big boot leg drop, listening to the fans kind of deal. It definitely put over Dream as kind of this trollish character, even more so in this match. And what I feel a lot of people aren't talking about enough is how good Ciampa's work is in the ring. It's so smooth, and the adaptation to make guys look so much better was on another level. The match was 22 minutes. I think if, like what we saw with Dream and Gargano, Dream being the 23-year-old and Gargano just kind of out at his super high-paced level, there was something about those two that didn't quite click as well as it should have. But Ciampa really just stuck out to me as that next level type guy. The way the match went down, the way, you know, just little things. Ciampa throwing the notepad at Mauro Ranallo at one point really gets more heat on the guy, and that felt like real heat, not forced moment heat that we're seeing a lot of. So this was good stuff. The crowd really wanted Dream to win, which puts him over as that babyface character, because he went from heel. This is the kind of booking that needs to happen. A gradual turn, heel to face or face to heel. This was a brilliant match. I think it's as good as the Black Gargano match. So it really depends if you want more gimmick or more long-term storytelling. In my case, I really liked the Black Gargano match for the long-term storytelling. So, then we get on to the War Games match itself. 47 minutes. Fans felt like they were on fire the entire time. There were definitely parts in the match where it felt like it dragged a bit, and that's where the fans kind of got out of it. It was kind of, I like to see it as that rest period. You see a lot of that happen in longer matches, especially in Noah, where you get like this kind of rest lull period at the 12 to 24 minute mark, even 34 if it goes to 40 minutes. You get a nice lull period to bring the crowd down, and then it kicks into another gear. And that's a lot of fans will see it as dragging. I saw it as a way to build to that next peak moment that they're going to. So there was lots of back and forth the whole time, with Cole and Ricochet starting it out. Very good stuff. Tons of near falls after everyone got in. War Raiders just look like sick powerhouse mobile monsters. That was cool to see. I really enjoyed that. It's Ricochet's like double moonsault from the top was absolutely insane. Was kind of funny how they were just kind of waiting around for him to get off the top. The 4v4 standoff gave it legit heat feel at the end, where these two teams are hating each other. It felt like a War Games match. It kind of gave that Marvel Universe kind of, or no, DC Universe, where it's like Justice League against the Legion of Doom, where they're coming against each other. 4v4. I don't know. That's just stuck out in my mind. My personal favorite was Bobby Fish in the match, doing just subtle things. A lot. The big thing, obviously, is him taking the lock off his own cage and locking Pete Dunne's cage he was in, and then throwing the key away. Then that sparked weapons coming into the match. So if you're going to do a match this long, I think it was smart to have the last person of the heel team bring weapons in. Because if you bring weapons in too early, how long are you going to be able to hit another person with weapons? That's why ECW matches were always so short, or hardcore matches, is because once you hit a guy with a stop sign twice, when you start seeing it the third and fourth time, you go, okay, that's another stop sign hit. You need to space these out. So when the tables and chairs and whatnot were brought in, it just, again, that was that lull period, and it built up to that last guy coming in the ring, and then that kicked in that next climax type moment. So Bobby Fish kind of was a good catalyst for all that. And it's a real shame Pete Dunne had a legit knee. No, it was a foot injury. They taped his knee up. It was definitely holding him back to the match, but he managed well enough to put off his spots. He was definitely doing a ground game that felt real out of place in a War Games match. Now, if it was sticking with old school stipulations that only submission could win, then okay, we could work with something there. But you can pin the guy to end the match, or throw him outside the cage, or if your teammate escapes, it loses the whole match. There were certain things the commentary had to work with. I really like Nigel McGuinness kind of losing his mind when Adam Cole allegedly lured Ricochet to the top of the cage, and then Adam Cole tried to throw him off. Nigel McGuinness really hit that home. He's like, that is brilliant! What a great tactic! Ah! Good stuff. I need more of that from commentary. But it took both Dunne and Ricochet combo to pin Adam Cole. They both pinned him, so made Adam Cole, despite losing, look really strong. It took two guys to kind of beat him, kind of deal. Match ends with Dunne and Ricochet both holding up their individual titles above everybody. I think the match was definitely A+. Whether it's 4.5 or 4 3/4 stars, that's up to the person. Even if you think it's 4 stars, that's fine. The match could drag for you. It's okay too. I thought War Games was definitely a great card, despite what I think of that opening 2 out of 3 falls match. I'll get over it. I know what they're doing. They're building for the whole stable thing. I don't like the idea of Sane and Shirai losing just to put over the MMA women in the end. I think they're too good for that. But again, I get the reasoning behind it all. Fine. On to Survivor Series. So I watched this while I was in Canada with a friend, and we were bored the entire time. Yeah, we were kind of bored the entire time, to be honest. We did watch a Progress show as well. That'll be in the next episode. So, a lot of it was kind of predictable. A lot of it was weird. One particular moment definitely stood out. Nia Jax was the sole survivor, pinning Asuka after 3 leg drops and a Samoan drop. They're really hammering home this facebreaker routine, building Nia Jax up to be this heel monster with Tamina in her corner, take on Ronda Rousey. The issue here is Nobody gives two shits about Nia Jax. The only reason why she has the heat that she does have on her is because she shot punched Becky Lynch. And if you're going against Becky Lynch right now, you're a heel. Nia Jax just doesn't have the in-ring capability. We've seen no improvement from her, even since her NXT days. She's just not good. Send her back to developmental or something, but it's not working. And the way it's looking is this is going to lead to Nia Jax losing to Ronda Rousey, building to a match against Becky Lynch. Who knows what will happen there for whatever WWE wants to book. And that's going to be the end of that. It's going to be a waste of a show for Becky Lynch and how she is in her character. I mean, if I punched my boss in the face, I'm not getting a promotion. I'm not getting a top line feud with another company or something. Not going to happen. But hey, it's wrestling. You know, they're making do with what they got, you know, turning a bad into a good. Knowing WWE, they just go, oh, this is great. Now we can use the concussion thing as a whatever. Moving on. Rollins v. Nax. Dream match for a lot of people. I was very curious about it. It lasted 22 minutes. In the end, my opinion, all we got was a TV style match. All that was missing was a commercial in between. It was fine, but it was just too basic. Yeah, it proved that Nax is a good wrestler. Rollins can go with anybody, being that this was their first encounter. Both guys proved that they are great wrestlers, but a lack of story, a lack of incentive, it should have been title versus title at the very least, I feel. It's not like they're doing anything with the US title anyways. Poor Nakamura, poor US title. You know, like Drake Maverick, the GM of 205 Live, pissed himself in the tag match. And that's what led to the bar being distracted and chuckling at him. So urine jokes in 2018, hooray. Didn't realize when we wanted the Attitude Era back, this is what we were going to get. And naturally it was carried over Raw the next night. 205 Live getting a lot of love indeed. Buddy Murphy defeats Mustafa Ali in a fun 12-minute match. It was fun. Crowd was dead until the final 2 minutes. Ali was overbumping like crazy. It was absolutely mental, the type of bumps he was doing. At one point, he was pushed from top of the turnbuckle, back first into the barricade. He did land very safe, as safe as one could. Ali was definitely the guy in the match to pay attention to. He is one of the most organic baby faces that they've built just on the entire roster in general. You can quote me on that, whether it's NXT, NXT UK, main roster. Ali is just that guy. He's just that lovable character. The promos he does, I mean, I've seen a few of them on Twitter. People post. They're good stuff. But let's face it, 205 Live is absolute purgatory. Hardly anyone watches it. Hardly anyone's gonna watch it at this point. It's a shame. I mean, hell, I'm one guy that stopped watching 205 Live. There's only so many times I can watch these guys face each other in such a short period of time before it gets stale. Yeah, the matches can be good. Just not into it. I got too much wrestling to watch. So, Shane McMahon's the last survivor on the SmackDown team, losing to Raw. Not much else to say there. There's really not much more to it. Charlotte does a crazy beatdown on Ronda Rousey post-match after a good grapple exchange match. This was my favorite match on the entire Survivor Series card. I went into it very skeptical because Ronda Rousey proved to me over these 2 nights, whether it's Survivor Series and Raw the next night, that she has to have coordinated matches. It's great. It's fantastic that she was able to pull off a match like this within 3 days of practice, right? I think a lot of it helps with who she was wrestling against in Charlotte, because they definitely focused on a lot of the technical ground game, which should be Ronda Rousey's specialty. Then come Monday, the Charlotte beatdown with the kendo stick, and just it felt like an initiation of, you know, Ronda Rousey, you're one of us. We're gonna beat the hell out of you. We're gonna build to something new. Then come Monday, Ronda Rousey walks out smiling, no sold the beating. This reminded me so much of the Super Cena era, where no matter how many times he got beaten down, he would booking like this is how you get fans to hate the character. And WWE is so afraid for Ronda Rousey to look weak in any form or fashion, it's going to hurt her character, and it's going to hurt future matches. And then sure as shit, she's booed. She got booed at Survivor Series. Then they put out a 2-minute squash match of Mickie James on Raw in what can only be described as a dumpster fire of a match. Because Rousey needs some teaching here. She was out of place. It looked like crap. Mickie James was like, what the hell are you doing? And then 3 of those Piper Pits spinning Samoan drops, and then armbar, done. What a waste of a possible feud. What a waste of trying to get Ronda Rousey to work with a veteran to actually learn some goddamn wrestling. Because when it comes time that she's not going to be able to do these coordinated matches, we're going to get a lot more of this. And that's what worries me. It definitely did a lot. It did a lot more damage. What happened on Raw was a lot more damage than the good that came out of the beatdown from Survivor Series. So we found out that it took 5 months for WWE to ruin Ronda Rousey's character. It's looking like it's dead. It's damn close. Lesnar defeats Daniel Bryan after 10 minutes of Germans and dancing, then 8 minutes of a large comeback return for Daniel Bryan. So it's funny as my friend actually fell asleep in this match because of how long it took for it to really step up that work. Yeah, Lesnar actually sold a bit of leg work at the end there. A lot of people are praising this match, saying it's really good. I get the story that was told. You know, it felt like a swerve of the fans. You're trying to get it to feel like this is just another Lesnar match of 2018, 2017, whatever year you want to put on it. The quirky heel Daniel Bryan character, not totally sold on it yet, to be honest. It is interesting. It's a new character. How it was executed is very questionable. I didn't like it. I think it's WWE have a stroke and panic to a lot of the injuries going along lately. But they're doing no effort to actually build any of these characters up. Nor are they building stars to help these characters be built. So, what did this match accomplish in the end? To me, it accomplished nothing. All it showed is Daniel Bryan can almost beat Lesnar after Lesnar fucks with him for 10 minutes. Okay, Lesnar's cockiness will be his downfall. We've seen that time and time again. Fun fact, though, Lesnar hasn't lost 2 singles matches in the same calendar year since 2004. That was a fact I came across. So Raw clean sweeps, 6-0, pre-show doesn't count. What did we learn? Well, nothing came of this. Nothing came of Survivor Series. Usually it's like 2 or 3 weeks and then you don't care about Survivor Series. No, it was the very next couple nights. You know, what the question would be like, what's Raw gonna do? You know, there was the Strowman gets Corbin now because he kept up his end of the bargain and he gets a title shot against Lesnar. What's Shane McMahon gonna do? Is this gonna go into his maybe heel turn, or you know, freaking out that, you know, he just got the B show got squashed and made the fans think, yeah, that's the B show. Well, SmackDown, Shane did nothing. He was in a joke match with The Miz, in which Miz got pinned by local jobbers and came out smiling. He's like, whatever. So nothing there. We're getting a rematch of Daniel Bryan against AJ Styles. Okay, so there's that. And then Raw had very questionable lines and promos. You had Stephanie McMahon basically backtracking on the booking, where now Strowman has to beat Corbin or he doesn't get his title shot. So that went against the promise of the booking there. You have now Corbin, if he loses, he is no longer general manager. Well, when he was general manager, they just swept SmackDown. So that makes no sense. And then they have a horrible elimination match to kayfabe break Strowman's arm. He apparently like injured his elbow legit, so he's got to get that fixed before TLC. So whatever. It's just heat. You see heat too much, you don't react to the heat. You see character changes too much, heel face turns, you don't react to them. You just go, okay, I guess they're that character now. So Stephanie goes, dismemberment is kind of a corporate liability. A definite jab from the Saudi Arabia fallout. That is unacceptable in today's society, to say the least. And it gets worse. Ambrose cuts a promo and he says, we're all going to get what we deserve. I mean, look at Roman. For Roman's part and what Roman did in the Shield, he has to answer to the man upstairs. And what's worse, you have to answer to me. So, the exploitation of Roman's leukemia is continuing. Doesn't look like it's going to stop. I'm not offended by it. I'm very just... It's in so much bad taste. There's things you just don't touch. Even if they're based in reality. Like, if a guy gets in a plane crash and he breaks his neck, don't fucking make fun of his neck in a wrestling storyline. Just nonsense. So that was Survivor Series. Who knows what we're going to get in the coming weeks leading up to TLC. It just doesn't seem like the direction is what we want. Luckily, TakeOver was really good. Definitely interested in what the future has in store for NXT with guys like Lars Sullivan coming up. Where Matt Riddle and Keith Lee are going to fit into the NXT picture. Are the Undisputed Era, how are they going to get their stride back? Because they're on a collision course for the tag titles against War Machine. So things are looking, or War Raiders, sorry. Things are looking good for NXT. NXT UK, I got really nothing to say. I'm looking for that Jordan Devlin, Pete Dunne match. NXT UK just needs to build something, and then Raw and SmackDown with the main roster continues to just be a mess. It's a mess, and there's a reason why they're in the position they are, and that's a conversation for another day. So that takes, if any of you in the chat have anything to add, let's talk about it. For sure. It could be anything from the indie scene to Ring of Honor, New Japan, WWE. Before we get into our last segment, it's been quite enjoyable. If you're still listening on iTunes, Stitcher, leave us a review, and definitely use that hashtag RedleafRetrocast, and you will be entered into an ongoing contest. Let you know when contest what you win. Definitely hit us up. You can also follow us on YouTube, Redleaf Retrocast, and Podbean. I definitely want more followers on Podbean. Get our name out there a little bit more each and every day. Again, use that hashtag Redleaf Retrocast. So I am going to then play the next and final drop. We got WCW to talk about. Alrighty. Well, got some answers here. When are you going to talk about Impact, Final Hour, and more? Well, the next Progress show, MLW, and Impact will be on the next episode of the Red Leaf Retro. So that enters that, and we're getting closer and closer to, I believe it's Slamboree for WCW 1998. And speaking of WCW, WCW Thunder episode 12 took place March 26th, 1998. And yes, as we do, we discuss one episode of Thunder, run down what happened, relive the past a little bit more. Definitely memory lane for me. I don't remember a lot as a kid, but I definitely remember watching Thunder just about every time I could. So, show kicks off with Bischoff in the production truck, angry at them that they're going to show a recap of Nitro. So Bischoff then gets kicked out. The recap is shown anyways, where both Savage and Piper are down in the ring, if you remember from last week there was a major announcement Piper was going to have on Nitro. Hogan orders Nash to hit Savage with a bat. Nash goes to hit Piper instead. Hogan stops him. So they both push each other. Savage escapes. So that announcement was for Spring Stampede. It's a tag team bat match of Piper and Giant versus Hogan and Nash. We got some more animosity within the NWO. We got Roddy Piper back in the ring with the Giant, of all people, and should be interesting. The build was definitely kind of on that scale of hypeness that we all want to see in wrestling. The concept of a bat match is kind of comical, but hey, it's wrestling in the 90s. That's what you got. So the night starts with match 1 with Eddie and Chavo coming out, as Chavo is wearing a shirt that says, my favorite wrestler is Eddie Guerrero. Quite funny. Eddie says Chavo is going to face... So Eddie then gets on the mic, and he says Chavo is going to face Benoit instead of him. And Eddie is going to face Booker T, who Chavo is going to face for the TV title. So the match starts. It's Chavo against Benoit, and then Bischoff kicks Tony Schiavone out of the commentary booth. And quickly, Chavo ends up tapping out to Benoit, so it makes Chavo seem like the weak nephew. Benoit still looks great. Decent match. Like a lot of this, WCW had this belief, and in a lot of ways I agree with it, where matches should only be the length between commercial breaks. So you'll never have a match interrupted by a commercial. That's why they feel a lot shorter. And that's why they are a lot shorter. So, once that match is over, NWO music hits, fireworks, Bischoff and Hogan time in the ring. So we haven't seen this in a couple weeks on Thunder. You know, you get your Hogan NWO for life promo. Then Nash comes out, says nobody is pulling his strings for his actions. Right? Thinks nobody at the top's pulling his strings. Nobody's his boss's kind of deal. Nash then says the interesting lines, we know the Wolf Pack is the heart and soul of the NWO. So the original kind of 3, Hogan, Hogan, Nash, and Paul. But does that include Hogan? That is the question that he's asking. If Hogan is the boss, then why doesn't Nash's buddy Six, aka X-Pac, why doesn't he have a job anymore? Why isn't Scott Hall on TV? Why is he deemed too dangerous for TV? So that's what Nash is now coming across at Hogan, really getting in his eyes and really trying to get the case around that there's more to this NWO animosity than just kind of the Savage Hogan thing that's been building for a while. So Hogan heals it up pretty good, downplaying who X-Pac and Scott Hall are, plays up who Nash is to kind of get on his good side. You know, he's like, X-Pac isn't all that great. That's why he's not here anymore. Scott Hall is, you know, he's not as good as you, Kevin Nash. You know, you're the big fella. If there's any trust issues, then let's team up tonight, and I will protect you, brother. Nash agrees, brother. Really makes fun of his little catchphrase there. Great segment. I absolutely loved it. This is why the NWO. It's things like this is why everyone was so hot for the NWO. It really pushes a story across. It's both for the show booking with the match tonight, and it continues on for weeks later, building up to future possible issues or matches. So, good stuff. Next match was La Parka against Prince Iaukea. Iakea's been on a bit of a win streak, as commentary's talking it up. He got a good win over Conan. They were touching on Prince Iakea's recent trip to Japan as he faced some of the best over there, and I believe they even said he went undefeated. He quickly puts away La Parka with the Northern Lights suplex. His win streak continues. Good match. I quite liked it. It had its quick and easy point. Then Tony Schiavone interviews a very excited Lex Luger. He comes out in his loose shorts, no shirt, to accept Hogan's little tag match tonight. So there you go. Typical Lex Luger type promo, just comes out all weird. He's hyped up for almost no reason. NWA type guy. That's who Lex Luger was. I was never a big fan of after his NWA run. So then next match is followed by Disco Inferno versus Chris Jericho, who's the Cruiserweight champion. Chris Jericho is still coming out with Juventude's mask, kind of wrapped around his neck in a necklace, and some clothes and items of other guys he's beaten lately, which is still funny. That's continuing. I love this kind of kleptomaniac Chris Jericho has become. Of every time he beats someone, he takes an item like as a victory. Most recently, it was Jack Swagger in Lucha Underground, season 4 here, where he was taking kind of trophies off his victims. So, first real crowd reaction from a match on the night. So, we get a lot of Jericho sucks chants. Jericho's playing it up like he doesn't want to hear it. But a pretty easy victory for Jericho here with the Lion Tamer. And then Jericho claims yet another trophy, and he takes Disco Inferno's headband. So anytime Disco Inferno loses, it's a good day in my book. Chris Jericho playing up his heel character extremely well. He's getting himself over with his own work. It's good stuff. What Chris Jericho is one of the best. Next match is Jerry Flynn. Heard of the name? Yeah, me neither. I don't remember. Yeah, he's facing Goldberg. Goldberg is now 61-0. However, this was a submission type match. And for like 2 minutes, they were trading submission moves. So Jerry Flynn kind of has this UFC MMA background. That was a little gimmick with that. But then just a spear, because reasons. Just came out of nowhere. Match almost lasted 3 minutes. Goldberg was very twitchy in the face in this match, so I think this is where his character was kind of being built up here, is just this kind of psycho big dude. Very twitchy. So, next, moving on with the show. Itchy Billy Kidman with The Flock versus Psychosis. I'm loving Psychosis. Billy Kidman building up his acrobatics character quite well. People are loving watching him wrestle, and Psychosis is another type guy. On the story coming from this is on Nitro, Psychosis injured Lodi. Lodi broke his ankle. So no fantastic Lodi signage in this match. So sad to say that, but gotta say, I love the guillotine leg drop by Psychosis, especially when his opponent is perched on the middle rope. I love that move. Just certain signature moves, just you never get tired of seeing. Psychosis wins via the top rope leg drop. They call the guillotine leg drop. Good match. Definitely one-ups the La Parka Ayakea match. Crowd was much more into this one. Then there's an interview in the ring with Tony Schiavone with DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. Big crowd pop for him. Diamond Dallas Page respects Sting after their WCW title match on Nitro, and I remember that one as a kid. That was super fun. And then it goes back to Raven. He wants his U.S. title back himself because Schiavone and management said to DDP, you know, we can get your title back, and DDP says thanks, but no thanks. I want to get it back myself. He has no respect for Raven, and he will be the first to get banged. So we're getting pretty crazy with these DDP promos and banging people. It's in high, you know, I didn't get it much as a young lad back in those days, but it's definitely really funny now because it means multiple things. Followed by British Bulldog and Neidhart versus Hennig and Brian Adams with Rick Rude in the corner. Reference to Nitro about the groups here and their issues. People getting handcuffed on Nitro. Rude, Ravishing Rick Rude kicks Mike Tenay off commentary. That's, you know, I always wasn't a fan of that because I love Mike Tenay. Match was an utter mess. Adams was just god-awful. And then the match was simply thrown out when they wouldn't meet ref demands, and they just kind of fought to the back, so nothing to report there after that. Then a weird kind of booking thing where DDP comes back out to have a match with Saturn, decent enough. Raven then gets on the ramp and tells DDP if he wants his US title back, he'll have to come and get it. Cool spot where Saturn jumps from the top rope, DDP catches him with a diamond cutter, and then just decides not to pin Saturn, just chase after Raven. Instead, Saturn wins via countout. So that kind of builds up towards Saturn. Since Saturn won, he gets a future US title match. I think that was an interesting way to book it. DDP is so focused on Raven and getting his title back that he didn't care about the match in front of him. But he still got one over on Saturn. Eddie Guerrero, he's finally back. He's facing TV champ Booker T. Eddie tried to use some hard object to get one over as Booker T was kind of cutting a promo that, Chavo, you shouldn't listen to him. I want to see you. I have respect for you. Don't care about Eddie. Chavo messes up and throws this hard, weird-looking object back at Eddie. Eddie gets strangely DQ'd. I didn't really understand the booking here with what the ref saw, didn't see. Then Eddie gets mad and makes Chavo hit Booker T and he says, quote, put the boots to him. So Chavo abides by Eddie in this moment. Benoit comes out to stop the beatdown. So I think we got a future tag match going there. Yeah, just quite odd overall. Wasn't really feeling it. It was kind of funny to see Eddie try and cheat to win. Just didn't work here in this particular sense. Well, we haven't seen him in a few weeks, but Buff Bagwell is back on the TV screen. It's Scott Norton with Buff Bagwell versus Rick Steiner with Ted DiBiase. Well, at least we got some story here where Rick Steiner's on a mission to go through various members of the NWO in matches to find out who turned his brother Scott Steiner to the side of the NWO. That's the story they're building here. Well, the match gets interrupted when Scott Steiner tries to throw Rick Steiner's dog collar into the ring to use as a weapon, but it kind of backfires. Rick uses it instead to win against Norton. Then Rick just simply chases after Scott Steiner post-match. So we got a very, just 2 segments ago, we got DDP running after Raven on the ramp. Now we got the other way around. I don't really like repeat booking endings in segments, especially on the same show. It loses a lot of its meaning, and I think that's why back in the day in '98, this Rick Steiner chasing after Scott Steiner and trying to build up Scott as a heel just didn't quite work as well as it did. It just felt like it kept dragging. So Rad made a reference to that a few episodes ago. Now we're on to the main event. It's Lex Luger and Sting versus Nash and Hogan. Here's our big storytelling match of the night. This is your main event. Little teases in the match of Hogan and Nash not quite clicking. I quite got a kick out of Nash just showing up in jeans, not taking the match too seriously. And then when Sting takes the match over, it was a babyface comeback, Savage immediately hits the ring, DQ, throws the ref out, fans start throwing trash into the ring. Just a great example of just shit main event booking. And I can't tell you how many times now we've seen just a DQ finish on just Thunder. And we're, what is this, episode 13? 12. I swear it's happened 4 weeks in a row now. So fans are getting super pissed. They liked what the main event was, but then just to end it the way they did. Lots of security seemingly hit the ring side to prevent fans from jumping the barricade. This is how pissed fans were. Members of the NWO hit the ring. More trash is thrown in the ring. Hogan and Nash meet eye to eye, and they get mad at each other. They're shoving each other real hard. Then seemingly for no reason, the NWO just leaves the ring with only Scott Steiner left in the ring to be taken out by both Sting and Luger. I noticed commentary called Steiner big in this match. I believe that was the first time they did it, and it was on his ring gear too, so just a note. And that was the end of Thunder. Okay then, right? Weird stuff. It was a very back and forth episode. You know, the middle was pretty good. It got a lot across. I loved the big opening to it, but man, those last 2 matches just didn't do it for me. I just felt mad. I just felt mad as a fan. Very disappointing. So that's the end of the podcast, as I can quickly run down just a note here. Fine. If you like the shorter episodes, or maybe I can go into more detail in future ones over certain matches and what have you, let me know. But now is the time to go over the podcast wrestling rankings for the episode. So, I don't have an updated rankings overall, but here's the top 10 from WWE. Number 10, I have Charlotte. Number 9, Baszler. Number 8, Daniel Bryan. 7, Velveteen Dream. 6, the War Raiders. I really like their work in that War Games match. 5, Adam Cole. I think he was the absolute star in singles in that match. 4, Johnny Gargano. 3, Aleister Black. To me, that was my takeaway match. 2, Tommaso Ciampa. He was just on that other level. And 1, you could not have that main event without the Undisputed Era. So between Fish, O'Reilly, and Strong, they all get them as the group. Undisputed Era get the 10 points. Moving on to Ring of Honor, New Japan. This was really picking at straws here because not much has happened. Nothing really truly take away. So, number 10, I have Hangman Page. 9, Evil. 8, Sonata. 7, the Briscoes. 6, Taichi. Great heel work. 5, Kojima. Really surprising me. 4, Matt Taven. He was, to me, that takeaway from the Global Wars tour in Ring of Honor. 3, Ishii with his match against David Starr. 2, El Desperado of Kanemaru and Desperado. Desperado, like I said, Suzuki-gun has definitely been that kind of takeaway team between New Japan and Ring of Honor lately, even in RPW, and Desperado seemed to be at that focus of it. He was definitely standing out to me more than Taichi and Kanemaru. As I do with Desperado, though, he will be sharing those points with Kanemaru since they are a tag team. And number 1, Suzuki-gun / Minoru Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. This is just an instance where I couldn't decide which one of these two guys were better, so they're just going to have to split the 10 points. And the indie wrestlers was really hoping for WXW's Broken Rules to put me away more. So number 10 is Bobby Guns, 9, El Phantasmo, 8, Walter, 7, Aussie Open, 6, Absolute Andy, 5, Haskins for his match at Progress, 4, Marufuji, 3, Dragunov, 2, Keno, 1, David Starr. So you know what? I'll mention this right fast. Nothing truly impressed me over the Progress show other than the return of Travis Banks interrupting the David Starr Dragunov match. That was excellent stuff. And then the main event of Walter and Haskins solidified Haskins can be still a top player. So that's Progress Chapter 77 right there. There wasn't enough to truly talk about it. As for the women, this was because the She one happened and there was a lot more to go on. I liked what I saw there. Been a couple matches on Impact. We'll be going into Final Hour on the next episode. 10, Taya Valkyrie. 9, Tessa Blanchard. 8, Charlie Morgan. 7, Kaylee Ray. 6, Ronda Rousey. She was going to be higher, but then that Raw match happened. 5, Charlotte. 4, Shayna Baszler. 3, Toni Storm. 2, newly crowned champion of Pro Revolution, Eve, Nita Samuels, and 1, Jamie Hayter. Very impressive. So, why didn't I just go ahead and talk about Progress earlier in the cast? Well, just wasn't enough to talk about. Maybe at the next show. Yeah, probably the next show I'll go into more detail over that one. Hopefully there's more to talk about, but I really liked Mark Haskins, proven that he can be a top player. He's been losing every time Walter wins a match. He seems to be beating down his opponents till he can't fight back anymore. Then there's that one edge of defiance in who he's against, and then he just sit out, pile drives him, crowd stunned kind of deal. So if there's anything else in a future episode you want me to touch on, let me know at BowlingJD. And in fact, don't forget to enter that contest. We got less than a week left for you to enter. Leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Use the hashtag RedleafRetrocast. Screenshot that shit to me at BowlingJD. Follow it. You can also enter by following us on Podbean and the YouTube channel Red Leaf Retrocast. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next episode. Okay. Anyone left in the chat? If you wanna throw your thoughts in here, let me know right now, as I'm just closing out. Okay, well, doesn't seem like anyone's tuning in. Alright, well, I guess I'll end the stream.